The airport was alive with its usual chaos, flashing gate numbers, a jumble of languages, and the endless scurry of footsteps. Businessmen hustled with coffee cups, tourists compared tickets, and airport staff tried to restore order to the whirlwind of movement. Amid it all stood Elena, a young woman with eyes that looked far older than her 23 years. She cradled a baby to her chest, rocking him gently as she looked up at the flight schedule screen, trying to stay calm. Her son, Liam, just shy of 8 months, hadn't stopped fussing since they arrived. Elena looked worn, not just from the sleepless night before or the cross-city bus ride at dawn, but from life. Her faded hoodie couldn't hide the exhaustion in her shoulders, and her once white sneakers were now a dull gray. Her left hand gripped her only bag tightly, a small, overstuffed backpack held together with safety pins. She had exactly $47 left in her wallet, just enough to get to her sister's place in Minnesota. She hadn't told her sister she was coming. She was afraid to. Her baby began to squirm, clearly hungry. "Elena, just breathe," she whispered to herself, opening her bag to grab Liam's bottle. Her fingers brushed against it, but just as she lifted it out, it slipped. In a flash, the bottle hit the floor and rolled across the smooth tile, straight toward the feet of a sharply dressed man sitting near the charging station. He looked important. AirPods in, laptop open, tapping away at something clearly more expensive than everything Elena owned. Elena rushed over, apologizing under her breath, cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." The man didn't respond right away. He had noticed the bottle, picked it up slowly, and now looked up at her, his expression unreadable. Her stomach twisted. She expected a cold glance or maybe a dismissive comment. Instead, he handed her the bottle gently and spoke in a voice that was firm, yet strangely kind. "Your baby okay?" Before she could answer, Liam let out a piercing wail. Elena winced, rocking him gently. "He's hungry. It's been a long day." The man studied her for a moment longer. "You traveling alone?" She nodded. "Going to stay with my sister, starting over, I guess." The man was silent for a beat, then, unexpectedly, he closed his laptop and pointed to the chair next to him. "Sit. Feed him. I don't think either of you should be standing right now." Elena hesitated. Was he being sarcastic? He leaned back and removed one AirPod. "I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just know what exhaustion looks like." She sat. They didn't speak for the first few minutes. Liam drank quietly, his tiny fingers wrapped around the bottle. Elena stole a glance at the stranger. He was maybe in his late 40s, clean-shaven, with graying hair at the temples and a gold watch that screamed wealth. His shoes were polished, his tie perfectly knotted. Not the kind of man you expect to strike up a conversation with someone like her. "You have family in Minnesota?" he finally asked. "My sister," she said. "She's the only one who picked up when I called." The man nodded thoughtfully. "I'm Richard." "Elena." Another silence. Then, out of nowhere, Richard said, "My wife died 3 years ago. Complications during childbirth." Elena turned to him, startled. "She didn't make it. Neither did our daughter. I buried them both on the same day." Her throat tightened. "I'm so sorry." Richard exhaled heavily, staring out at the tarmac. "After that, I stopped going to airports. I stopped going anywhere that wasn't work." Liam, having finished his bottle, let out a content sigh and curled up on Elena's chest. She gently rubbed his back as her mind reeled from what Richard had just shared. "I don't usually talk to people," Richard said. "Not like this. I'm always, in meetings, on conference calls, talking about numbers. But you reminded me of someone." "Your wife?" He nodded. "And what could have been?" It was the kind of moment that hangs heavy in the air, not awkward, not forced, just real. Two strangers, broken in different ways, connected by something wordless. Then, the loudspeaker cracked. Final boarding for Flight 234 to Minneapolis. Final call for boarding. Elena stood slowly, adjusting Liam in her arms. "Thank you, for being kind," she said. "I know I don't look like someone who belongs in first-class lounges." Richard raised an eyebrow. "You belong exactly where you are. Don't let the world convince you otherwise." She offered a small smile, then began to walk away. "Wait," he called out. She turned. Richard pulled something from his briefcase, an envelope. He walked over and pressed it into her hand. "What is it?" she asked. He didn't answer at first. Just looked her in the eyes and said, "It's not charity. It's a push forward." From someone who finally learned that numbers and meetings don't mean much if you forget what humanity looks like. Elena slowly opened the envelope, heart pounding. Inside was a check for $10,000. "I can't accept this," she whispered, shaking her head. "Yes, you can," he said gently. "And someday, when you can, pass it forward. That's the only thing I ask." Tears filled her eyes. "You've changed our lives. You know that, right?" Richard smiled softly. "No. You reminded me what life feels like." As she disappeared into the boarding line, Richard stood there a long time, watching until she and the baby were out of sight. He didn't know her last name. He didn't need to. For the first time in years, he felt something shift inside him. Hope, maybe. Or healing. And somewhere in seat 18A, high above the clouds, Elena held her baby close, the check still tucked in her coat pocket, proof that even in the most unexpected places, kindness can find you when you need it most. In a world too often hurried and hardened, it takes only one moment of compassion to rewrite someone's entire story. And sometimes, the people who seem the farthest from our struggles are the very ones waiting for a reason to reconnect with their own humanity. Let kindness be the legacy we leave behind.